for the second group, for Chili's Brompton, the next students arriving. You can start. I just have to look for it. Wait a minute.
Của mình là 16 tiếng, giống như 16 tiếng và 43.
Yeah, you can start.
Yes. Good morning, sir. Today I will present my team to introduce you to our briefcase named as Rossini Pronto, the great Italian cuisine without a weight. Now first, we want to say grateful and appreciate for your great help support in doing the course. Our team includes all 4 members, me as Nguyễn Hoàng Long, and other 3 members are Nguyễn Nguyễn Huy, Mr. Hoàng, and Phạm Vinh Hùng. Yes, at first I want to give you a quick look about the content of our presentation. At first you can see it's a company background, the situation, analysis, thirdly is the solution, and finally is the conclusions. As I mentioned, in this part I will tell you a little bit about the history of the companies. The Bressani Incorporation. Bressani Incorporation has begun in 1969 by the Venturgas family in the Boston North End. Yes. And in 1989, the family who owned the companies had decided to sell the controlling interest to a group of private investors. The new board had managed the companies successfully to expand a large amount of brand new restaurants in the downtown and shopping mall location in the northeastern in the United States. Then the companies compete with the equivalent price as a food chain service restaurants. Talking about the profit of the companies, I have to say that Bressani have been doing very well. The companies expect the recession of 2008 and 2009. Every single year, the company has earned increased revenues and profit. By 2010, the company has operated and opened restaurants in 23 different locations, employ nearly 1,000 employees, and generates nearly 100 million United dollar in revenues. The most reason to explain this great success for Bressani can be attributed for the high reputation for a good food and service in each location. The company restaurant chef Marina Mulizas owned the artwork. She embraced artwork for her astonishing recipe and skillful cooking technique. The company is also earned the best chain service award by the New England Restaurant Guide. And move on to the situation analysis. Here I will introduce you to the problems that the companies are facing with. In January 2011, the company was powering issues raised by the potential expansion. And the most reason for this expansion, because of the domestic market is nearing its saturation point in both in the city and shopping mall location. One option for this problem can be looking for the opportunity overseas, but however, Bressani is a small regional player, so they do not have enough brand power or resources to pursue this option. Therefore, they need a domestic avenue for growth. So, therefore, they were considering of opening an open limited menu outlet which named as Proximity Pronto. Proximity Pronto will serve a different type of consumer. They will serve highway, interstate highway traveler. And they believe that they can serve a quality difference that the consumer can value. But however, the challenge is still substantial. Could Pronto can still profitably serve a standard menu with moderate price without jeopardizing the company's reputation for the good food and good service quality? Still it break into the market which is already occupied by established competitor. The company expectation is quite high. Proximity is a slow-growing company. They want to roll out new restaurants quickly so they can establish itself like a powerful brand. However, with a limited capital and low access to the prime real estate side, they need to choose either to adopt the franchising or the syndication form of ownership to move on. They also want to apply a new, effective, innovative processing, include employing and also applying advanced technology into operation. However, all this food quality, service, branding, pricings, and form ownership has to be well collaborated and mutually supportive together. And they all have to meet or exceed the whole rates of 6%. That is a big order for the companies. To move on to the market segments analysis, I would like to introduce you Mr. Hui. He will do some analysis on the market to find out who is the competitor of the companies, as well as the potential market segment for the next future for the company.
So the table shows the basic accounting of 3 market segments the Pronto company is considering: the fast food segment, single location full service restaurant segment, and the full service chain restaurants. So the first criteria is the number of outlets. Second is the annual revenues they earned in the year 2010, with the profit margin in percent and in dollar. Also, the prospect growth rate between the year 2011 to 2016. So for the fast food segment, there are 300,000 outlets in the United States, and they earn $184 billion in the year 2010, with a profit margin of 3.5%. That is equivalent to this amount, $6.4 billion. However, the growth rate is the smallest, only 2% among 3 segments. And because of the increase in customers' awareness of health issues associated with fast food products, then the growth rate is going to decrease even more in the future. So this market segment is really saturated. For the second segment, there are 200 establishments. The revenues is $89 billion. Profits is 6.5%, that is equal to $5.8 billion. And the growth rate is highest, 2.8%. The full service chain restaurant has only 33,400 outlets. The revenue is $53 billion. The profit is $3.4 billion, 6.4%, and the growth rate at the average level 2.5%. Okay. So this chart derived from the previous table. We just have a close look and have a more clear comparison among 3 segments. So for the first segment, there are only 3.5% in profit margin, only about half in comparison with 2 other segments. And although the revenues seem to be very high, $184 billion, but because the concentration in this fast food segment is really high, 50% of market share in this fast food segment was already taken by large national companies. So there are only a half left. So the revenues of the fast food segment and single location are about the same. But the profit margin and the growth rate of the single location full service restaurant is significantly higher. However, this segment is not really attractive. Why is that? Because Pronto Company is a chain restaurant. They cannot replace all of their operation strategy and facilities of their restaurant to move into this segment. And the competition level, or I can say the intensity of competition made by this segment is, the Pronto Company cannot do anything to change the intensity of competition made by this segment. So this single location full service restaurants are irrelevant in Pronto's decision making. So we only analyze the fast food segment and full service chain restaurants. Now we come to the 5-force analysis of these two segments. Yes, let's go to the next slide. Yes, we just talk about some significantly difference between these two segments. First of all is the economies of scale. The full service chain restaurant require lower economies of scale to earn a profitability. Because the profit margin of each restaurant is higher than the fast food outlet. The expected retaliation is because the concentration in this fast food segment is higher, 50%. So the large companies in fast food segment have higher incentive to retaliate against the new entrants. So the full service chain restaurant has lower expected retaliation. The products are not differentiated for the fast food segment. The fast food segment requires also lower initial capital, of course, because we need less initial capital to build up fast food outlets than build up a chain restaurant, of course. How about the low switching cost for customers? Let's take this discount card as an example. If you own a 5% of discount card of the fast food outlets, it's of course less valuable than you have a discount card of chain restaurant, because this one is a higher quality and higher service. So if customer switching from one brand to another brand, they will lose more money in this case. So to conclude, we are looking for a market which have higher threat of new entrants, because we are new entrants. We want to blend into that market to expand our business. So in this case, fast food is more attractive. Go to the next slide. Okay. The power of buyers and suppliers are not really significant, but we still analyze it. First of all is the volume of purchase relative to total output. This volume is lower for full service chain restaurant, because a restaurant produces a differentiated menu. So if one kind of that food is refused by their customer, the rest will be able to consume because they have different flavor. But for fast food outlets, that is really big problem. If their product is associated with unhealthy food, and all of their customers say no with their product, then this is bigger problem. So the volume of purchase relative to total output is lower for full service chain restaurant. Percentage, of course, on the supplies. Of course, the percentage, of course, is lower for full service chain restaurant, because the profit margin of products in this segment is higher. How about the buyers price sensitive? If you are going to a restaurant and looking for a high quality food and high quality service, of course you are ready to pay for an expensive bill. Then just a little bit improve in price performance, and just a little bit fluctuation between price does not affect much on buyers' decision. So buyers are less price sensitive for the full service chain restaurant. The product differentiation is of course higher, and the availability of substitute product is lower for the full service chain restaurant. Then the power of buyer is lower for this second segment. How about the power of suppliers? So the availability of substitute products. Then it is lower availability of substitute products for the restaurant because their products are higher differentiation. The importance of sublease to incumbent success is is lower for fast food, and the significance of incumbents to suppliers is higher for full service chain restaurant. How about the threat of forward integration? For the fast food outlets, you have to possess a large amount of outlets to produce profitability. It's different for the chain restaurant. That amount is smaller. So the threat of forward integration is higher for full service, is lower for full service chain restaurant. Then the power of supplier is lower for the second market segment again. How about the threat of substitute product? Switching cost towards substitute is lower for full service restaurant. Product differentiation is higher, and the improved in price performance relative to substitute product is lower for full service chain restaurant. So the threat of substitute product is also lower for full service chain restaurant. The last is one of the most important ones, that is intensity of competition. So for the full service chain restaurant, the number of competitors is less. The industrial growth rate is higher. Then the competition level is lower. For the fixed cost and concentration among competitors, yes, it is. The fixed cost for fast food is lower, and the concentration is higher. That leads to the low intensity of competition. The product differentiation is higher. The brand loyalty is significant. The diversity is higher, and switching cost for customer is higher. That leads to the low intensity of competition. So generally, we can say that the full service chain restaurant has lower intensity of competitive rivalry. So to conclude, I would say that the fast food segment have higher threat of new entrant. So it's really a potential opportunity for Pronto to expand their business, to increase the number of outlets. But this market segment is not safe. It contains a lot of risk because it's already saturated and high level of competition. For the power of buyer, supplier, threat of substitute product, and intensity of competition are lower for full service chain restaurant. That means that the full service chain restaurant are more sustainable and safe. So the Pronto company want to stick partly to the full service chain restaurant, but to consider the fast food segment as an opportunity for them to expand their business. So that is the final. That is one of the strategy. Okay? Now let me introduce Mr. Hong to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Wei. Now I will continue the presentation with the solution. The Pronto concept. Before the Pronto concept, there were two opportunities: is carry out stores and catering, but they were all rejected. Then Alessio sketched out an alternative possibility, that is Porcini's Pronto. A team was formed to further develop the concept and gave it a budget sufficient to engage a real estate consultant and a customer researcher. With the key features, locations at interstate highway access, Porcini quality food and service, a limited selection of beer and wines, and the team would use two existing restaurants at separate locations as test bed for Pronto operating strategy and menu offerings. a special menu would be developed, and it would be its price would be slightly lower than Portuguese traditional fare. Here is the Portuguese pronto and the Portuguese traditional fare. For the straight key, they analyze to find and choose location after these requirements. First is close to busy interstate highway access, then close to near gas station to which traveler would assist refueling, near economy level locking, close to large office building, office park or shopping area, because 50% of customer is not travelers. Within positioning is operating area to benefit from name recognition. Then finally is reasonably distant from existing Italian restaurant. They also do a customer research to aim at the customer better. Here is the result of the research. The range of dinners is from $9 to $17. Lunch is from $6 to $12. Then the service must be fast and efficient. Patrons in a hurry would be complete dinner experience within 30 minutes for lunch and 45 minutes for dinner. Finally is, of course, clean and spacious bathrooms. Competition is an important factor. They determine their competitors. Macchiano, Buca di Beppo, Carbar, Olive Garden, Petuzzi, Uno Chicago Grill. But none of these chains was cited or designed to serve travelers or in hurry dinners. Cracker Barrel and Dennis. This restaurant most directly serve Bronzo target market in full service segment. We have Pizza Hut was another potential competitor, though food quality was of a lower order and associated with the pizza by focus group participants. They are just the key competitors because when people are hungry, any place that serves food is their competitor. So they are not concerned with Italian, but Chinese, Chinese burgers, whatever. Therefore, brand recognition is a disappointed point for Pronto. Now I will continue the presentation with the operating strategy. According to Alessio's plan, each restaurant would provide seating for 85 customers. We start by 12 to 15 full and part-time employees with a manager, an assistant manager, waiters, cleaner people, and kitchen crew. Full-time manager would be salary, the rest would be paid hourly. And employees would be eligible for performance bonus paid quarterly. Therefore, there must be an effective bonus system. So, there were some different approaches for each restaurant for recruiting, compensation, training, and retention. An important notable success. An important notable success was how to cut turnover, because most ancillary personnel are young and looking for a job, not a career. They need a reason to stay and be committed. That requires good pay and opportunities to grow. First, through experiment with recruiting, pay, and cost, Porcini's has successfully brought the turnover down to 42%. A pathfinder team with 3 or 4 employees was formed to bring experience and the company's quality culture in town. Each team must receive a full week training for about rapid and quality service training. People who want to become an employee in Pronto's restaurant must pass several screens. First is an initial interview with human resource manager. A second interview with Pathfinder team, a personality test, and finally is an interview with a manager. The employees must have this factor to work in a restaurant. First is upbeat attitude, good communication skills, reliability, integrity, an ability to work well with others, and positive attitude to work performance-based pay. Absenteeism is very important too, because when someone fails to show up, it throws a monkey wrench into our operation. To prevent that, there is a bonus paid leave program given out. Each hourly employee earns half day of a paid vacation, in which he or she misses no scheduled work. Perfect attendance in a quarter earn 1 day, one additional vacation paid day. And to get a steady stand in the market, Pronto would have a quality as customer could see it. A discount card should encourage repeat visits. And there is a small mobile device with a lot of questions on a touch screen brought to the customer when they want to pay. On the screen, there is a big heading, "How are we doing?" And then the waiter asks the customer if they want to answer the question or not. If customer accept to give the feedback, they will earn a card worth $3 of the purchase filter. Here is the contents of the questions. The courtesy and efficiency of their service. How is the meal? Is the speed and quality of service good enough? The value for the money. What do the customer think about the restaurant appearance and cleanliness? The cleanliness of the restroom, and finally the overall quality of your visit. Then software will automatically match the customer response to the appropriate person or the operation or the management. Therefore, the rating will produce a performance scorecard for individual employees, employee teams, and restaurants as a whole. The scores are used to identify and correct area of quality weakness and to reward. Employees able to earn quarterly bonus up to 10% of wages for high performance. However, the bride resident is not satisfied with the customer questionnaire. They develop and enforce their own measures. How long it takes to sit a customer and take her order, to repair a typical entry, and so forth. And technology is used to get a better performance and faster operation. Wireless order taking devices. Wireless order taking devices will assure fast and accurate orders to the kitchen. A lot of time is wasted in getting bill to customer, and then returning to pick up the bill and the credit card, and then running back over to the cashier. Those processes should be eliminated. Therefore, the credit or debit payments terminals would be used. The customer can pay by swiping their credit or debit card on the terminal. I have finished my presentation part. Now Mr. Shen Huang will present next.
At this point, it seems like all the operational issues and other things discussed above are seem quite reasonable. The team themselves still have a problem wondering on option for Pronto Pro. Well, before going into detailed analysis, I shall restate on the utmost important criteria expected from Pronto themselves. First of all, Pronto should be able to expand rapidly with measured risk. In other words, Pronto growth rate should be at a controllable rate so that they do not have to worry much about putting their company's reputation at risk if anything getting out of hands. And also outlets should be designed to be smaller than Pronto existing restaurant and to be easy to manage with a small team. If anything were to happen, there should be a way for them to retreat out of the business with a much loss through selling back their property. The SWOT analysis shall rotate around the issues and note down the advantages and disadvantages. I shall go ahead with Pronto first option, which is quite a traditional one for them. Option 1, please. Pronto shall be company-owned. As you can see, this option can be defined by their strengths, which are well perceived by most people. Being as one with the company itself, each facility of Pronto should be able to share the company vision, first pushing their potential value to greatness. A business owned by its own company shall grant the company a full operational control over any decision, first making their company seamlessly invulnerable before any outsider impacts on its fate. Possessing full control shall give the company a chance to expand and grow at an acceptable rate. However, there are no strengths that go with their weaknesses. The company clearly states that they have limited capital. That means they can only arrange financial support for up to 2 properties per year. Even so, next please. Even so, the option still has its attractive features, presenting as opportunity. The company shall be able to maintain a consistent growth throughout the operational period. And they also have a faster customer turnover rate, which is an important asset that would lead to a 6% of profit margin per year. Well, nonetheless, there are threats that is really a force to be reckoned with. Operating Pronto as a company-owned model shall present the company with a high risk of losing almost everything that invested into the company if the plans were to be a failure. In other words, if the company failed to achieve their designated goal within a limited time, they shall find it quite hard to sell back the property at an acceptable price, thus losing an enormous amount of capital invested. Well, there's also other established firms that are more than just ready to compete against a newly opened brand that is owned by an already old-fashioned company. This is quite a painful situation that the company might have to go through if they choose this option. Pronto's second option, quite a mainstream one amongst others. Option 2, franchising. The definition of this option is as the name suggests. Pronto sets up deals with individually franchisee, and in each deal, they will require the franchisee to pay a specific kind of fee to Pronto in order to operating under their brand name. The strength of this option are quite understandable. Franchising is undoubtedly the dominant choice among chain restaurants, since it has been proven to be quite successful amongst existing businesses. Costs on constructing properties shall be shifted to franchisee. That means the company will not have to pay a dime for construction costs. First, it is quite obvious that less capital is needed for the company to grow in this way. Having said that, this option still possesses unavoidable weaknesses. Since possibly Pronto is not a household name like Burger King, it is highly unlikely for the company to extract high fee and royalties from their franchisees. Apparently, it is impossible for franchisees to be consistent with the company vision, since they may follow different motives. So this is another issue rise that might put the company reputation at stake. Putting Pronto brand into the hands of people they cannot control shall lead to damaging Pronto standards for food and quality service. Anyhow, this option is still featured some attractive opportunity. Franchising grants the company an opportunity to grow rapidly. It's also helped the company getting into market segment other than the traditional one. This is quite a nice feature if the company plans on expanding the company later on. And faster expanding rate means more attention, getting more attention from customer. Getting more attention from customer may give them opportunity to improve their brand name. That means they would become more appealing towards consumer. And who knows, maybe it's also possible for them to renew their franchise deals once their brand name has been improved in the near future. Still, it is the threat that worries us the most. As discussed above, franchisee may accidentally tamper with the company reputation on better food and service quality through their uncontrollably careless performance towards customer or terrible food quality. Inconsistency with company vision may drive franchisee off track, first making efforts to create a united operation on each and every property seems pointless. While vetting prospective franchisee and negotiating deal, an upfront franchise fees may be brought up during this process, which is quite high. Pronto last option. Quite not as charming as it looks, but still has its perk. May I present to you option 3, syndication. The strength are as follows. Similar to company-owned methods, syndication shall grant the company a full operational control. Also, property ownership shall be shifted to investor. Syndication requires low amount of capital invested, since the amount of such amount of capital shall be recycled for the next syndication deal. It is also easier for the company to choose their estate location, to setting up the property, then selling back the ownership to investor. Be that as it may, weaknesses are quite obvious. Each syndication deal requires a high transaction cost, which would value to as much as 6% of property value. Also, transaction costs would be recycled for every 20 outlets open. Even so, the opportunity offered in this option are quite attractive. Please, the company shall enjoy a high expansion rate, partly similar to franchising, but more controllable. And while possessing full control of the operational decision, the company shall have a better way to create a more better career advancement for employees. First, making it less likely for employees to leave work at any time they want, as well as improving their commitment towards companies and the job. Despite that, the threat is still noticeable. You see, Pronto is a weak brand name, so it is highly unlikely to attract enough investors to carry out this option. Up next, on statistical information needed for decision making shall be presented by Lau. Please.
Thank you, Mr. Sohan, for the price comparison between 3 options approach. And now let's move on to the statistics, colleagues. Which option approach that we shall choose for to carry out our company's version? Yes, as you can see here, this is the period from the year 2011 until 2018. How many units opened during years that the company was forecast that every choice or the option of Pro. And here is the more detail, the look in more detail. If we go in the company owned operating, the estimated profit margin was forecast around 6% of the revenues. Compared to syndication, the revenues, the profits will be 4% of revenues, and for a franchise, the revenue is only about 2%. And they also estimated that the average revenues per outlet and in every year is our personally Pronto is about $2.4 million. And here, Let's go into the first option of Pro. It's a company owned and operated by itself. The total revenue per outlet is 2.4. As I mentioned, the percentage of revenues that Proximity Pronto earn will be around 6%. So by multiply 6% by 2.4 million, we will get around $144,000. Yes, and here, for a long period from 2011 to 2018, you can see here, by 2 multiplied by 8 years, plus 2 by 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, and so on, we can get the final earned profits is around $8.352 million. Move on the franchise. As we apply the same formula to calculate the annual revenue per outlet, it will be less than. This will be around $48,000 per dollar, because of the percentage of revenue earned is less. It's only about 2%. And compared to the long period from 2011 until 2018, we also need to calculate the one-time cost of developing and pricing agreement supportive system. It will cost the company around $1 million at the first year. So the final profits will only around $3.368 billion. Yes, and finally for the syndication. The total value will remain the same, but the percentage of the revenues Proximity Pronto earn will be a little bit higher, 4%. So the annual revenues would around 96,000. And compared to the long period, now the transaction cost is quite higher. This will around 2.5 million. So the total would be around 3.548 million. And let's put in a scale. We can see that syndication somehow is lying between our two orders. The profit is at the second place, and also the accumulated or outlets the company will own will be the same. We go to the conclusion of our team. So we have decided to choose syndication as an option of growth for our companies, because we believe that syndication has all the perks that the company needs to carry out the proposal plan. Why? Because it has a full control over operation. The company is still operating and run the companies. It will help the companies to have a fast and controllable, the most important thing, controllable progress. It will need a lower capital requirement and lower risk compared to other options. Yes, and thank you for your attention.
And we thank you also for that presentation, including everything from the 5 forces to SWOT analysis and for calculating the profit rates. Thank you. And anybody got any questions? No. Then it's the question, we will have a break or we will go immediately to the next group? What? Next. What you mean? Then start with the next presentation.